Get yourself a toga and make sure you've got those knives, because we ain't stopping with our Julius Caesar references here on V'ger Please. A vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
Happy Black Friday Steam sale. Thanksgiving in the rearview mirror.
Oh, damn, why'd you have to tell me that? I'm going to look.
I'm thankful for all you guys hanging out here to talk about nerd shit with us. I'm your co-host, Peter. The only thing I see on sale that I would even consider, I think, right now, because my backlog is so big, is Red Dead Redemption 2, which I already own for PlayStation 4, and I abandoned quickly because it does not seem to be a video game, but a life simulator, and I do not have time for that.
Did we talk? I feel like we may have spoken on the record at some point in an episode about how you and I both have the same feelings about Red Dead Redemption 2, which is, it is a game theoretically I should really like. I'm a huge fan of Westerns, and I like big, complicated open world games typically. But
and Red Dead Redemption 1 was amazing.
Excellent. Fantastic. Seminal entry. One of the best uses of music in a video game. I think it just crested over the complexity hill further than I was really interested in going.
I think you and I crested over the hill. That is a game for someone who does not have a wife.
It's like, are you married? Yes. Don't play this.
Are you upper level management and cannot call off to spend a day playing? Not for you. But you might be thinking, with this Black Friday week of sales and all that, we got Christmas coming up. We didn't get people. Well, I've got an idea. You could give them.
Go ahead. What's your gift idea, Peter?
The Blight of Star Trek podcast.
Oh, Jesus.
What else says I love you and I care about you more than putting a hyperlink to our podcast in an envelope and handing it to someone like they're going to get a nice gift card to Outback Steakhouse or
there is
Amazon
a scam here, but the scam is you listen to us.
Mm-hmm. And you just refer people to us and get yourself off the hook for a gift and maybe inflict pedantic Star Trek arguing onto a new person.
Listen, nothing says I love you more than the gift of two men talking about Star Trek for hundreds of hours. And that is what we offer to the V'ger Please subscriber, of which there has been increasingly more, and we appreciate all of you. So some of you have taken Peter's advice without even knowing, spreading the joy, and we appreciate that. Although I don't appreciate hearing that you watched the first part of the 5th season of Stranger Things, Peter, because that seemed like a trap to me.
Watching it with my wife, Pluribus continues to be good, so we're doing that, and just wanting to tap in on something big going on, so we jumped in on Stranger Things. The last season wasn't, I think 4 was okay, and we're 3 episodes into season 5, and I'll finish out this thing, because I think it's going to be 4 at pause, and then another 4, but so far, man, this thing is just fucking wretched. The acting is terrible. The script is terrible. Expecting the audience to believe that these 30-year-olds, or however this group of kids are at this point, are still in high school is ridiculous. They should have set the story forward 10 years and been reasonable. The only redeeming feature so far has been the physical marketing in Target. Like this.
Oh yeah, I saw the picture you put on Discord. Yeah,
pretty cool there, and really great action. Actually, their kinetic action sequences have been choice. And beyond that, the real takeaway is that my wife has been right there with me, punching this thing in the face, and I enjoy watching her say all of the same things that I'm thinking about. So it's her the one being pessimistic and negative, and not me, because
we gotta hate together sometimes. That's what I do with my wife.
It's not even hating; it's just being reasonable together, and that's a real bonding point. Season 3, episode 21. The Die is Cast. First aired May 1st, 1995. Right before my birthday. Look at that. What a treat.
Yeah, what a treat.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Delayed treat. Written by Ronald D. Moore. Directed by David Livingston. No teleplays here. In-universe date 2371.
Well, I think the best thing I can say about this episode is something that David Livingston said about this episode, and he said he put this one on his director's reel. He's real proud of this. I would say for good reason. As good as last week is, this one is, I think, in my opinion, much better. Because considering they didn't intend to even make this episode. That Ron Moore kind of had to cook this one up because they realized they had 2 parts worth of story, and then went and shot the Mirror Universe episode and then came back to this. I think it demonstrates why he wound up with the reputation he's going to wind up with. This is also, ironically, Ira Steven Bear's first episode as the credited executive producer, aka he is now officially the noted
Replacing
showrunner.
who?
There was no titled executive producer for the show because Michael Piller left to do Voyager.
It was vacant.
And now it's him.
This does not stand out as an amazing episode to me. And it's not that it isn't an amazing episode. It is that the story has become so cohesive and tight that it doesn't necessarily feel like I'm watching individual episodes anymore, but just turning something back on that's already going.
Right. You're just turning a page of a book. It's not a separate story anymore. It's all the same story, and it just keeps
And this
going.
is an exciting one, and this is a good part of the story, but it's not like, man, this thing stands on a pedestal. And that is such an incredible compliment to be able to pay to Deep Space Nine, because that is something that literally would never happen in Voyager. And it's something that took Enterprise season 4, really, I think, parts of season 3 and into season 4, before you could just be like, I'm digging everything. I have been digging everything overall, minus that god awful Herman's Head episode, which I listened to the rest of that podcast while I was standing in line waiting for a pie.
What a very specific circumstance, but go on.
Every year, man, the pies are worth it, but just standing in the fucking cold waiting for pies to bring to Thanksgiving like I'm at an iPhone event in the 3G era is a trip, and I was happy I had that to listen to. But yeah, like you keep saying that, like, oh, the good part of Deep Space Nine is yet to come. I feel like we've been in the good part for a very long time. And this is just the good part getting better and more intense and moving faster.
I mean, the hearth wisdom of Deep Space Nine is that Improbable Cause and the Dias cast represent the beginning of the quote-unquote good part. That everything before those episodes is something of a prologue, establishing the setting, establishing the characters, giving you some context as to what the real story is going to be. And it is here where the story really begins. And I think that we've covered already the politics angle of this quite well. In our discussion last week, we talk about why is this happening, the greater stakes, what is the Dominion's ploy, why, and there's some color to that we didn't get into that we touch on here. To me, though, this is a standout piece because this really brings Garak into the story in a way that is something extremely unique for Trek, and is why he's considered such an important character on the show and in Trek lore generally, despite never being a major cast member. This is a man who's the protagonist of this story, and yet he tortures one of the cast members. He just does. He just tortures Odo for an extended period of time to the point of nearly potentially killing him. And that's not something that Trek typically has wanted its protagonist characters to do. It has wanted to keep them in a sort of Roddenberry-esque
Friends
ideal.
in space, solving problems with friendship and reason.
And this is a man who ultimately, I don't think is a spoiler to say, is a vital contributor to the safety and security of the Alpha Quadrant, who is definitely a hero in any rational measure. But he is a dirty man who is willing to do terrible things.
I mean, he's coming into this having on-screen, point-blank, flat-out murdered two people because he shot the guy.
He wasted
Kira.
2 Cardassians, the Gull in the cargo bay, and the guy in the episode when they spring Kira from the trap. I wouldn't say murder in either case. They were justified killings. They both were armed. You
have a gun.
You just kind of like got the drop on him and killed him.
You have a gun. that the bullets can either be set to kill or knock out, and you used evaporate.
I'm just saying voluntary homicide's the best you're going to do. I think these are justified shoots, if we're being real. If there were body cams on this.
Listen, again, you can shoot to knock people out with a phaser, or you can disintegrate them, where they evaporate into thin air like whatever profits Paradox thought they were going to make off of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodline.
Oh, but oh, pump. Oh.
Watch out for that special content coming down the pipe.
Lost $20 million.
We got some I told you so content coming up. Everybody in Deep Space Nine's hands are a little bit dirty. Everybody on Voyager was very squeaky clean and boring as a mirror, as a inversion mirror to what was happening in Deep Space Nine. And I don't think that Deep Space Nine's characters were created to be gritty, and
they were meant to be a little bit more working class, for sure. I mean,
I don't think they set out and said, we're going to do the opposite of TNG. Voyager, I think, was made to be the opposite of Deep Space Nine. I think Deep Space Nine was not made to be the opposite of TNG, but to be like, let's get real with these characters and let's not constrain ourselves to squeaky clean hero friends in space solving problems with friendship. And that's not to say that doing that in TNG was wrong or doing that in TOS was wrong. But again, it was people who grew up with this stuff being handed the keys to the castle and saying, now you can make things and you can grow, you can iterate this thing into a more organic lane and see the stories you can tell. And they're amazing stories.
Yeah, I would agree. And let's work the clock all the way back for a second. I think this is worthy of, if we're going to do a deep dive on this topic, like,
you
now
guys got
like
off easy last week.
Yeah, last week we had like 45 minutes. Peter didn't have a lot of time. We're in the middle of holiday shit.
You owe me 15 minutes of your life.
So we're going over this time. Yeah. So
time to pay the piper. That might be the episode for this one.
The beginning of Deep Space Nine is interesting in that the Starfleet presence on the station is essentially as a management function. There's not a lot of Starfleet personnel, as we are reminded constantly. We actually have just a handful of officers and specialists that are there to essentially assist the Bajorans in running the station. That's what they've asked for. It's like a tripwire for the Cardassians, so they don't fuck with them, because it's like the border troops on the DMZ in Korea. Like, you can't fuck with them, so that kind of keeps everything in check. And that's why you wind up in a circumstance where you have relatively low-ranked people in charge of a space station, all things considered, right? Like, your chief medical officer is a guy literally just out of medical school. Your chief science officer is a random lieutenant who happens to be a joined Trill. Your commander is kind of like this damaged goods guy who, has worked his way through the ranks, but you really don't trust him to do very much because he's a little unstable. Your chief security officer is an unknown alien that can shapeshift. And it's mostly Bajoran militia that are your staff. And it was an interesting idea in that they aren't necessarily the best and the brightest. And we had that sort of Q episode where we made fun of that fact that, they just weren't picking up on something as quickly as the Enterprise D crew might have, to Q's lament.
Funny what the absence of a Soong type android does to your break fix analysis chain.
I know, right? Like, don't have a walking supercomputer to solve every problem immediately with turbo AI. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it does allow you to make your characters feel more real. They've got problems. They're not the best for a reason. It might not be a lack of capacity. Dax is a brilliant scientist, but Dax is kind of a rebel that has a really complicated relationship with her people and being joined and authority generally.
And so Sisko aside, none of these people are career focused. Bashir is out there for an experience of being on the frontier and excitement.
O'Brien's there because this is a big step up for an enlisted man, right? Like, I would
he's
say
also family focused.
Yeah.
He's family first and foremost. I mean, he loves his job, he loves to suffer because there's lots of stuff to fix and keep busy. But when push comes to shove, if it's between I want my job or I want my family, he's willing to tender his resignation and move off. Dax lives forever and should be an admiral, but again is an experienced, focused person who is in Starfleet, but life focused. And then who else do you got, really?
You got Kira, who's obviously a former terrorist, made a military officer, so they don't have any other choices.
Well, I was talking just Starfleet.
Oh yeah. That's it. That's really it. And
you had Sisko, who was ready to quit.
Yeah.
Before he
didn't want the job. Yeah. And so because you're using these kinds of characters, I do think that it makes them gritty. It makes them a little bit more real. I think that that's exactly what you intend to do when you kind of create a cast like that. I think that is the intention. And it allows you to do a lot of the things that they've been kind of dipping their toes in over the majority of the last 3 seasons, because we're getting to the end of the 3rd season right now.
One more thing I want to say. All of these people went into assignments that were postings to a stationary place. And that's a good place, I think, for someone who is out for experience, but not out for career drive, versus Starfleet going out on a deep space exploratory vessels where you're going to run into shit. It's going to be the kooky stuff. You don't have families by and large, and you are signing up for the adventure of your career and doing the Starfleet shenanigans. And that's, I think that's really important. None of these people signed up for wildness, and then it just so happened to turn out that there is a space butthole that drops problems of the week.
First week, right? Like right when you get there. And then this is why you end up running Space Casablanca, right? It's why Lucy and Bator show up to deal in arms. It's like why you've got a shady Cardassian Taylor who you definitely know is a spy or was a spy, but whatever he is, he's definitely shady as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And you just the grittiness and the realness starts to filter in. You've got a random bartender who deals weapons on the side, and you kind of allow to get away with criminal activity because you'd rather he do it than someone else.
Your racist Uncle Ducat shows up from time to time to cause problems before he fucks off.
Cause problems, solve the problems he causes, any number of combinations therein.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the local colonists have turned into terrorists for extremely ill-defined reasons.
Awful neighbors. Just the worst. This is a shopping mall in the ghetto.
Yeah, it's like to say, like, the security problem gets bad enough that your bosses let you take your ill-designed gunboat out of storage to fix so that you can have a little bit more backup.
That's essentially Sisko as the general manager of Deep Sheets 9 / the local shopping mall in the ghetto and saying, hey, is it cool if I start bringing a gun to work?
Yes. Not just any gun, but like my cut down M4, like with all my mods on it. Like I'm going to be ready,
Hey,
like that's just like kind of ready.
This revolver,
the runabout. This is the Defiant.
Hey, this revolver I've been keeping in my desk. I don't think it's cut in it. Is it? And before I bring it, I'm gonna let you know. Like, yeah, it does have the laser thing on it. So this is for killing people. Yeah. Please make sure you're showing up for work.
And then this transporter twin of a flagship officer steals it off your desk, and you're really mad about it. Anyway, so all of that is prelude to where this episode it like comes together nicely on the concept, not just with Garak, which we'll talk a lot about, I'm sure, but with the crew themselves because of the choices that they make. Like everyone decides to violate orders, aside from Lieutenant Commander Norwood Reaper, who we'll get to.
They've already been in their naughty mode, though. I mean, after you refuse to effectively follow orders and abandon station when the Bajoran Civil War was going down, and instead you created a Home Alone environment to battle Franklin Gallia's forces, like, this is already...
But they had the fig leaf of I have to get everything off the station and every bolt. Like they didn't. violate it brazenly. They violated it in spirit, which was what
Listen,
made it clever.
Starfleet Academy is a prestigious college. None of the people who come out of there are fucking idiots, and everybody
Yes.
knew exactly what they were doing.
Of course, everyone knew what they were doing, but we're talking about Starfleet General Order 2, right? We've talked Starfleet.
Sure.
Everyone knows what Starfleet General Order 1 is the prime directive, but Starfleet General Order 2 is just as important. That is, you should never violate direct orders unless it totally works out in the end. If you did, in which case no one gets punished. That is Starfleet General Order number 2.
The ends justify the means, so long as the ends are good.
But that aside, I think it's quite telling that like Admiral Todman tells them not to do this, and Sisko just goes, "I'm gonna go do it anyway." And anybody who wants to come, we're all probably going to get court-martialed. Who wants to come? And everyone comes. Like, this is a group of people who now have coalesced around the idea that they are on the edge. They have to decide to do things the way they want to do them, whether anyone else likes it or not. And I think it's because they're the kind of the gritty, real talk crew who have been through enough together that the distant authority of Earth might as well be in another galaxy. There's no one's showing up to stop them. No one's going to make them do anything, and no one wants to be doing what they're doing anyway.
And Sisko is Jesus.
That's a big part of it too, right? He's starting to feel it, and he's going to start feeling it more and more before the end of the season.
Todman doesn't say it, but like again, you can't just replace Sisko. You want Bajor in the Federation badly for some goddamn reason that I still haven't figured out. I mean, the wormhole's part of it, sure, but the wormhole's such a liability right now. But if you move Sisko away from Bajor, it is going to cause catastrophic damage to your relationship with Bajor and give Kai Wynn everything she needs to secure her power and shun away the Federation atheists that were a threat to her power. So,
correct. Exactly correct. You can never get rid of Sisko off this posting.
These aren't things they're saying out loud, but this is stuff that the writers know, and he knows because the writers know. And, as he has, I don't want to say radicalized, but as he has crystallized from someone who had one foot already out the door into someone who was ready to stay and fight and die for the people of Bajor and the Federation. It's a very strong tool in his arsenal of keeping it real. Before we get into the episode nuts and bolts of the main thrust, I want to talk about this opener. And this is going to be a real change of gear. Because we open up with a familiar scene, and it is Bashir in the Replomat having lunch, but there's no Garak around because Garak's lost in space right now. And he's got O'Brien, right?
Of course.
And it's interesting because these guys are best friends, but his lunch slot has always been occupied by Garak and their, I don't want to say veiled conversations, but robust debates to media. And it's O'Brien, who is no doubt busy as fuck fixing things and preparing for World War IV, if you are to believe 3 ever actually really happened, which I personally don't.
World War III truther, yes.
Yeah. But it is this monologue by Bashir, and it's meant to be a throwaway comical scene that just highlights that these are different relationships that Bashir has. It's a very cerebral, highbrow, art-focused relationship with Garak, and his relationship with O'Brien is more beer and pretzels and darts.
Correct.
But the content of his rant is a diamond that we have spent 8 years combing through Star Trek before ever discovering any hint of.
Correct.
And it's such a hot...
when this happened, I forgot that this happened in the scene, and I was like, why isn't this happen more often?
Is it in
crazy.
The quotes?
It's crazy that this sticks out so much. And what we're getting at is that Julian Bashir goes on an extended monologue about the state of 24th century popular culture. and laments, and this is in specifically in frame of theater, laments that there hasn't been anything good written for 50 years,
100 years.
100 years, since the late 23rd century. And it is because everything has become a derivative exploration of other species' work. So, in essence, Earth theater has been doing remakes of other of alien theatrical works rather than creating its own, expanding its own canon of theatrical expression, which is a stunning parallel to the world we are in right now.
We shit on Ron Moore a lot, right? Ron Moore is great. You know he's great. I know he's great. You at
Yeah.
home, you know he's great. And the fun that we have sometimes is just looking
It's
at
fun to make fun of his flaws because so much of what he makes is amazing, right?
like this guy. Don't let him near angels or religious plot unless someone is standing over his shoulder with a gun to his head, keeping him on the rails. But this scene right here shows you that this fucking guy is thinking about Star Trek in a way that nobody who was there for the motion picture or what was supposed to be phase 2 or any of the Roddenberry acolytes were. And this is so much of our conversation out of Voyager and what we were looking for out of Enterprise. And it's what's the real look of Earth on in Star Trek? Because Star Trek is ultimately a story about dudes in uniforms on a spaceship or a space station dealing with major dilemmas. It was never designed around looking at life on Earth and what things were in the 24th century in a post-scarcity utopia that has made contact with aliens. Ron Moore has been thinking about it, and this is what he says, is that human interpretation of alien plays has basically drowned it out. And right now, humanity is actively ignoring their own cultural heritage, that they're losing sight. And he doesn't say what I'm saying here, but this is my interpretation, is that and I don't think we're going to say like cultural appropriation, but just like a stagnation. And again, I go back to, God, what was the Skeevian episode? Prime Directives?
Yeah, I remember from Voyager season 1. Yep.
Again, the Skeevians, one of my favorites. I listened to the fucking Voyager season 7 rip and the recap because I've been doing a lot of driving, and like it's reignited my love of the Skeevians. But all the same stuff is there. You have exhausted or allowed yourself to stray away from your own creative ability and become dependent on this assimilation of other media to provide entertainment and direction. And you've never heard anybody else in Star Trek say anything about this at all. You have a hyper competent augment, as he'll come into view, but someone who should really know their shit and is clearly a connoisseur of media, calling this out. And it is so incredibly fascinating to me. And it absolutely makes sense, like, why this guy has left the comfort of Earth, even at this point, before they've decided he's an augment, like, you know, that he's potentially fleeing the truth or like trying to hide himself. Like a guy who's grown up in luxury and said, we're squandering our potential, and I'm going to trade that for excitement and experience, legit experience on the frontier. And that also feels a lot like earlier season where it was a plantation episode, and the lady who stranded everybody.
Yeah, they just wanted to be able to have to work.
Well, she wanted them to be able to work. But
ultimately, the story is kind of the rest of them got into that idea.
Again, she brainwashed them. I still have major problems with that episode. But there's at least some movement within Earth that says, we've lost track of who we are. We've lost track of what makes us human. And we are willing to take steps to try to reconnect with that.
Now take a pause and think about where we're at in Year of Our Lord 2025, right? Like, we are on the verge of a massive AI revolution that has only accelerated at speeds that I think would have shocked us at the beginning of the year. As we can see a future where a huge amount of work is no longer necessary to be done by human hands, or is going to be done in a fashion exponentially more efficient than it is now. That we live on a planet where there hasn't been a global military conflict within living memory. Like the last major one is starting to fade out in terms of its generational cohort that fought in it. Where we live in a lap of luxury and convenience that would have been unthinkable in the 90s, right? Just
Uninterrupted comfort
yes,
for many of us.
multi-generational uninterrupted comfort, increasing on an exponential scale in terms of its complexity, capacity to provide even more, right? Now imagine it's the 24th century and you have unlimited resources, unlimited ability to experience things in a fashion that's tactile and real because of the holodeck, holographic technology. Is it any wonder that human civilization would start to kind of fray a bit in understanding itself? It's one thing that the Cardassian artistic experience that Garak lays out for Bashir in these conversations that makes a lot of sense is there's this constant sense of conflict and renewal in Cardassian culture because it's highly centrally organized and militaristic and very focused on service in the military as part of your national identity. And that provides a sort of cultural unity where everything kind of flows downstream from there. In the Federation, it's been good times for so long that what a human is starting to get lost, right? Instead, they're just reflective of their place as this in this multi-species confederation, which has its own benefits, right? Like, but literally multiculturalism is killing Earth culture. That's what he says. Like,
And that is, if we're going to draw Enterprise in on this and give Enterprise some credit, it is that willingness that allowed the Federation to found in the first place. It was humanity's willingness to cooperate and to compromise and come to the table and bring other people to the table that got the Andorians and the Vulcans to break bread.
Yeah, to get the Tellarites on board. Like the humans didn't have priors, right? Not I don't want to go too deep on this allegory, but it's a story present in the Bible actually. When you consider like, and it's a foundational piece of Western literature, so you kind of have to think about it when people write things. But what does Christ do? He goes out, he preaches, and the people that have the most trouble accepting his word are what? Jews, the people that he is a part of. The dominant civilizational group where he lives. They have lots of rules and regulations and priors, civilizational priors. They don't want to accept changes to those things. Who can accept them fastest? The people on the edges and foreigners, people who don't have civilizational priors. So what happens in the story of Enterprise? Humanity, who is not party to any of these conflicts, who doesn't care about anything that's happened prior to their arrival on the scene, and appealing to their fundamental natures rather than trying to navigate all of the external things that have happened around them before they showed up. And, combined with a certain je ne sais quoi to the humanity that Vulcans, talk about, or at least Soval talks about when we to have those Vulcan episodes in season 4, makes it so that they become sort of the nexus that the Federation ends up coalescing around. That they're uniquely positioned to do this.
So you have the ultra liberal human Earth contingent that has built the Federation, that has fully embraced exploration of other cultures, who is able, and that's so many of the Next Generation episodes is like, here's something that's radically alien that we're having a hard time wrapping our head around. And it's, it's small little laugh beats or whatever, but like, oh, Picard's got to wear a goofy hat, or, we've got some weird culture we have to. And never at any point do they say, I'm not fucking doing that. That's stupid. And I refuse to because of my pride or my dignity or whatever. It's always a willingness to like, let's give it a shot. We got a mission to do. We're willing to compromise. I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm saying this in like we're going to put a best faith effort in to accommodate this customer tradition. And we're going to get the job done. Well, you try everything at least once. You never know what you're going to like. And at least you can say you did it, which is that's, what I teach my kids.
Right.
And here you've got a century of doing that. And you've got Bashir saying like, we have gone too far and it's let us get sloppy. And he's not over there saying like, we got to get like Peter Weller, RoboCop.
No.
4th season of Enterprise.
These are enlightened people. They're not going to take that. The Peter Weller stuff died 2 or 3 centuries ago.
What was that called? The Terra
Prime.
Terra Prime. He's saying we've lost our focus and it's made us lazy. And anyways, such great conversation coming out of Julian Bashir. All Miles O'Brien cares about is this fucking chicken noodle soup.
Yes. I'm going to finish this before I get to the next thing to break. I am the wrong person to have this conversation with. And Peter is, we talked about our wives already enough on this episode, but man, I feel this like when you're having a conversation with your wife and she's just not interested, right? It's the wrong audience. It's not, she doesn't, want to talk to you. She doesn't want to talk to you about that. You got to find someone else. It's why you hang out with Garak at lunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can have that person to talk to about stuff. I don't talk about Star Trek to Stevie. I talk to Star Trek to you. Like, that's how this works. And so it's a fun beat.
By the way, that 3-minute scene, if it was in Voyager or season 1 through 2 of Enterprise, that would have been grounds to be the best episode.
Correct.
This season.
Yes,
right?
unfortunately.
That was an amazing scene that I fucking loved. Thank you, Ron Moore. All the poo-pooing I do on your religious writing. This is why you are a fucking badass writer right here. Is that level of consideration. Speaking of badass, there's a whole fleet of badass on its way. Lunch gets cut short as O'Brien is summoned to ops, and they're sitting there around the computer like, I don't know, what are all these tachyons doing? Look at all these dots coming at us like it's fucking aliens and we're getting swarmed. Like, everybody has forgotten about cloaks. Everybody's forgotten about quantum singularity, drive.
These guys tried to kill you like 3 episodes ago. You should be right on it.
Oh, I don't know. What is this major force that's just approaching us? Who knows?
So, few things here. First, it's a fleet of 20 ships. It is half Romulan Derek's class warbirds, half Cardassian. I think they're not Gaylor class. They're the same ships from the Orion system that the Defiant was housing before. They all have Romulan cloaks, though.
So Keldon class.
Keldon class, that's right. And they don't say anything to Deep Space Nine directly. They just go through the wormhole, and the information that they ultimately get are actually Inebrian Tane's message to the Cardassian High Command. So there's no direct interaction with the Federation whatsoever. But when we cut back later on in the episode to what was left, it's pretty clear. The Tal Shiar and the Obsidian Order have decided, as we discussed last week, that the Dominion's got to go. We ain't having any of this. We know where their homeworld is because the Federation told us. So we're going to go erase them. And we've got 20 ships here, all with modified cloaks, so the Jem'Hadar can't see us. And we're going to roll up to their home and blow it up. That's the plan.
It is a solid plan. These Keldon-class warships are built in joint with the Tal Shiar. They have enhanced speed and weapons. They've got the cloaks. We know that the Cardassian stuff is normally greatly inferior to Federation, because even the Federation, like, I don't know what you want to call the Galaxy class era, where Starfleet has returned to really focused on space exploration and diplomacy. But, the Nebulas, which are no slouch, I mean, that's the Galaxy's little sister, is still shithousing their best.
Correct.
So, yeah, there's a big tech gap, but the Tal Shiar has given them quite the uplift. I love that it's a Tal Shiar and Obsidian Order collaboration, because it's not Central Command getting this stuff. It's not the Cardassian Empire as a whole. It's a very specific task force. The Deredics on their own are powerhouses. The Deredixes are
rivals Galaxy class vessels,
if not surpasses, because the Galaxy class is a space exploration, whatever, and the Warbird is a warship. So one-on-one, they are a match, if not more than a Galaxy class can normally handle. So I don't know if they say how many Warbirds there are versus the Cardassian Keldon classes, but that's only 20 ships. It's a lot. It's not a war fleet that is out there to hunt down every single Jem'Hadar vessel. This is a strike force that is designed to go in, hit the target, and not only are you looking to cut the head off of the bad guy by destroying the Founder's homeworld, Inebrian Tane's message to Central Command identifies that they know about Ketracel White and that they think they can disrupt production, and that will disintegrate the Founder's hold over the Jem'Hadar and collapse the Dominion that way. They know that it's going to be sloppy. They know that there's going to be a couple weeks of cohesion where hell is going to come knocking. But this is going to be an alpha strike that should topple this thing. And it's solid to the point that even Admiral Todman, who, by the way, the traditional Season 7 TNG uniform with the front zip and a little bit of gold piping, I've never seen an Admiral with Operations
Gold. Yeah, it's the first. This is the first example of a flag officer in something that isn't Command Red in the Berman era. And you have to go into Picard basically to see flag officer rank people that don't have Command Red on. So
it looks really good, which is something I never say for an Admiral uniform. So is this guy Admiral of Security? I didn't pull his wiki up.
Yeah, so the intention here is that because he's wearing the Operation Golden, again, it's a kind of a visual cue of what happens later with Eddington, is that he is the Vice Admiral in charge of Starfleet security. So if unfortunately, again, to reach into Picard season 1, if you remember the Tal Shiar agent who was faking being a Vulcan, who was the head of Starfleet security at the time, she also wore Operations Gold. I know that.
Sunglasses Vulcan.
Yeah, Sunglasses Vulcan. So
please we just not refer to season 1 or 2 of Picard as anything.
It's the only point of reference I have to offer you. So yeah, this
I'm
is
willing
unique.
to take slash fic over Picard season 1 or 2.
I'll hold you to that. We've got our audience is only expanded. Do not ask for that which you do not want to receive.
Do not threaten our audience numbers. Just keep that shit to yourself.
Hey, listen, there's been some people who found our Blood Fever episode recently and found that shit hilarious.
I wanted to talk about that.
Okay.
As we were talking about Garak, because I went back after I was listening to the season 7 recap and the series rip, Blood Fever got brought up heavily. Crazy that was Andrew Robinson who directed that.
Yeah.
And that was a Lisa Kink episode written.
Oh, yeah.
And like the Hellraiser connection and like this whole ugly sex violence thing.
They're definitely the right people for a weird episode about people wanting to fuck real bad.
Violently so.
Yeah.
Pursuits of the Flesh. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, his uniform looks really cool. I liked it a lot. It's Starfleet security flag officer. So he's like, listen, so this is going to happen. And then Kieran Reese is like, you almost sound like you want it to happen. And he's like, I don't seek war, but if war is going to happen, I'd sure like for the Dominion to be on the losing side. Like, shouldn't that have been Jadzia Dax with her outcry, not I'm a fucking terrorist and I murder kids and fucking women?
Yeah.
Kieran Reese.
All the people to say that line, that was not the right one. I like Bashir being the real politic person, on that first comment, because he just would, right? Like, he doesn't give a fuck. He'll speak up as a nobody to an admiral to sort of like give him a tough question. But yeah, why Kira? Kira should be the one of like, I hope it works. I hope it works and everyone dies. I hope those are the two things that happens.
Also, quick side note, if I can, about Bashir, because I, while I was sitting there waiting for Pi, listening to this fucking I'm an Old Man, Herman's Head episode, you touched on it briefly in that, and we didn't really call big attention to it, but his status as an augment, not only being hyper competent, as he argues with people, right? Like, he argues with Space Pope over the way she's treating Vedic Bareil. He argued with, he went and faced down to Tane Albram. Not only is this guy hyper competent and also not married to his career, right? He's not afraid of losing what he has. And that's the way I've kind of been reading things. Like, ultimately, this is a guy with a very strong moral code and high ethics. And that has been, that's really what I've looked at. Like this outrageous behavior he's shown to galaxy leaders is I'm highly ethical and willing to be real talk. One of the joining things we've seen, like a hallmark of the augments, Khan, the guys that we saw in
Enterprise,
through Cold Station 12, these fucking guys have egos.
Yeah.
And absolutely, like, cut off all the hypercompetency, cut off all the ethics. Like, I believe fundamentally because of just kooky genetics, genetic engineering, like that is a byproduct of augments, is like fundamentally I think that I am better than other people and I'm willing to plunge the world into war to express my will. Now let's say that you went through, which I think Noonien Singh, the fucking Data's dad, not Data's dad,
Dr. Soong,
Brett Spinner's
Bright Eric Soong is who you're talking about from Enterprise.
He found a way to fix a lot of the genetic engineering slop and problems. Like he was able to break fix a lot of this stuff, and like the Soong revision would have fixed a lot of this. Let's assume that wherever Julian Bashir is, it's post Soong revisions. Like maybe he couldn't get rid of this ego altogether, but he could tone it down. Maybe Julian Bashir is not willing to plunge the world into war and kill people to express his will. But this motherfucker certainly has the balls on him that he will tell you exactly what he thinks if he thinks you were wrong or his way is better. He will not give a fuck because this guy is at a genetic level predisposed to pride and ego and telling people off.
Just you fucking wait. All right? Like, Peter, it's going to be some years, unfortunately, before I'm going to come back around to exactly what you just said. But you have my promise that when this moment that you have called like Babe Ruth right before knocking it out of the park happens, it manifests itself in the most specific way that it possibly can. We're going to have a real talk.
Talk about a great retcon that you just fell into ass backwards.
Yeah.
Like just
beautiful.
Writing this smug little smarmy bitch to be this prick fresh out of med school. And it's like, well, what if
there was something else? Yeah.
What if he's actually this way for a reason and it's not just being a spoiled brat?
Speaking of people who are that way for a reason, let's just shout out quick that Eddington is here to be an asshole. And I just love that he just shows up randomly, finally again in an episode. Like, hey, imagine all these times we're going to have the camera hold on you while you look real fucking guilty or suspicious. I can't imagine you're going to end up being a bad guy here.
Commander Krull, Commander Beastmaster.
I prefer Commander Norwood Reaper, but I understand.
Listen, man, again, the fact this guy's like an 80s action star and he's doing Deep Space Nine now, like, I fucking love it.
But they don't hide that he's the one that sabotages the cloak. The camera literally, like, it's got him only in frame looking like,
well, I want to talk about this.
Fucking guilty.
So, Admiral Todman goes, stay put. I want you guys protecting Bajor, which sounds fucking ridiculous because, like, if they go and they kick the hornet's nest, whether they're successful, whether they fail, the Dominion's coming through there like bats out of hell, and I want you guys ready to defend Bajor. You cannot send this cloak ship in on a recon mission. I forbid it because we need that there. Which sounded stupid at the time because really, what good is one Defiant going to do against the Dominion that took down a Galaxy class? Little did I know the ridiculous power scale they were going to enhance the Defiant with once push comes to shove in this thing. But the TV turns off and Sisko's like, yeah, fuck that. We're going to go pick them up. And it's going to be a volunteer mission and you don't have to go. Everybody's willing to go. I'm not willing to leave an officer behind. Would you have gone to save Odo if you were on this crew? Has Odo ever really connected with anybody outside of Kira Nerys to a point where you would say, I owe this man my life and I'm willing to directly violate very reasonable orders and go on a upfront suicide mission? Because, Sisko's like, don't worry about the court martial. We're probably going to die over there. Like, if it was Sisko, I'd say, sure, I'd go after you. If it was Bashir, who might have saved my life on the operating table, yeah. Or Miles O'Brien, who has saved the station many times, sure. But Odo, the guy who has been a rampaging rock monster and destroyed the station, or Odo, who is a founder and nobody can really be sure of like where his loyalty absolutely is. Odo, who fled the Defiant during our last time we were over there. Odo, who is kind of a motherfucker and not pleasant to deal with. Like, that is a stretch for me in this episode that everybody unanimously...
At least it should have been Kira who is rallying everybody to go get him, right? Like, maybe Sisko is, like, he doesn't present a barrier, and it's Kira who steps up, and it says, like, Odo is part of this crew. We owe Odo our best effort to save him, because he was investigating this. He was on this. He was doing his job. And if any one of us was captured, Odo would do everything in his power to save us. And maybe like Bashir steps up and says, I only got out of Cardassian prison because of him. Like, you could have...
O'Brien does owe Odo his life because of the kangaroo court that Odo stuck his neck directly in there. So maybe this isn't as unreasonable of an ask as... and I can see Jadzia going along with Sisko just because they're homies.
Right.
So,
she's up for doing weird. She's up for disobeying orders. That's like her fetish. So, So, and then suddenly you got most of the crew ready to go do this. It needed a little work. Just like, hey, we're just going to go commit a crime. Let's go do it.
It's not just commit a crime, though. I mean, this is a ridiculous suicide mission. And I think also, too, could have been like, we need to know what's going on. This is an unreasonable order. There are 9 ships coming to reinforce it. And really, whether it's 9 ships, 10 ships, or 30 ships, these guys are going to shithouse us. We need to go. So off, everybody's there, when it's time to disembark. They leave the crew, they leave God knows who in charge of Deep Space Nine.
Lieutenant Porkins, maybe?
Lieutenant Nobody, who got the bridge when...
Sisko went on vacation to Westworld? Yeah. Rando guy.
And you get the best vanity shots we've seen of the Defiant so far.
Oh, yeah. This episode is chock full of starship porn. This is the most complicated starship battle on screen in the Berman era up to this point, that we ultimately see in the Oberon Nebula.
I'm sorry. I'm spoiled having just watched the Wolf 359 productions.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting that the hacks that they used apparently to try and keep the budget down, because they didn't have a lot of money to like do what they wanted, so they had to find creative ways to do it. But I mean, this is we have the first example of the Defiant blowing up a Jem'Hadar fighter and flying through the debris style like action happening here. We have a big set piece battle where you've got 120 Jem'Hadar fighters descending on this little fleet, and they do a pretty good job of giving you some scale and some desperation, despite not having a ton of money to do it with, nor time.
What Voyager episode is playing on this?
Oh, good question. Where is Voyager at this point?
This is May 1st, 1995.
Faces is the Voyager episode that comes out on May 8th. That's next.
How'd you find that so fast?
Released order. So 363 of 968 released in all.
This is the one where they separate B'Elanna Torres from her
Klingon
human side from her Klingon self. This is the Fred Durst episode.
Correct. That's where they're at.
That's where they're putting their primary focus.
Yeah, that's what's on network TV.
Is telling, I need here on Faces, I've pulled it up. I need the plot arc of Kira gets over being Klingon, entry 3 of 69.
Is it Kira getting over being Klingon?
I'm sorry, not Kira, B'Elanna.
Okay, so we're almost an hour into this episode, and we have yet really to talk about Garak. So it's time.
All right.
We got to. So the action in the fleet is actually pretty straightforward. First, we already covered it, but I'm going to say it again. Who is Nebrian Tane? Who is Mila to Garak? Is it not clear at this point?
I don't think that Mila is Inebrian Tane's wife. I don't think that Inebrian Tane has a blood relation to Garak. I think they play her as maternal. And that's funny, too, because I saw it pop up on, I don't know if it was Reddit or a Facebook group, but someone's like, this relationship between the two of them. She's sympathetic, maybe an aunt. I do not think it's his mother, even though that is very clearly a maternal vibe. It is a protective figure. It is someone who favors Garak. Um, and I think it's smart of them not to identify and them just to leave you guessing, because it could be anything. It could be blood, or it could be just really close relations. The important part is that Garak clearly cares about this lady, and he's batting for her hard in this one.
And Tane, he's close to. Like, also, they have a relationship that is beyond mere mentorship. Like, they're close on a personal level. Is he his uncle? Is he like, was he adopted? It's something more than I just like got recruited and came to work for you, right?
In my
They know
mind,
each other.
Garak is a. Do they ever talk about Garak's father proper?
Yes, they do.
Is that something we can talk about now or no?
Not unless you want to be spoiled.
I don't. And right now, my working theory is that knowing what I do about the Cardassians and family is that Garak's father either died in a war or was executed by the state. Regardless, it left Garak as a orphan. That orphans in Cardassia get downtrodden and have a real hard time, despite the importance of family and children. And that Tane stepped into this like mentorship role and basically became a de facto dad in some ways.
Yeah, like you just said it, right? Like your loyalty to family is very important in this,
Your
right?
family, though.
And you could see a circumstance where someone who's deprived of family, they could be adopted as a sort of surrogate son. Like it's something so much closer than mere professional regard, right? What kind of family bond is it? Unclear, but it seems to be beyond. Again, the focus of Cardassian relationships being centered on the family, one must assume there's something more going on.
So here's the conflict for Garak in this one: is what he wants and what he has wanted versus what he has grown into and what his eyes have opened up into. Because
Yes.
at one point he was a point and click sadist who was ruthless and excellent at his job, and then he was kicked out of the organization. He was plunged into an excommunicated purgatory and punishment on Deep Space Nine. He starts forging reluctant friendships with these humans who, through their compromise and their amazing diplomatic ability, all the shit we just talked about, how humans are losing their cultural identity, and they get in and they merge and they start softening the edges on him. And now he is back in. He is getting what he wants, and it's going to be a story of realizing he no longer wants what he thinks he wanted. And the warm up to the big conflict of that, which is going to be his relationship with Odo and Odo's life ultimately, is going to be this Mila lady. Because Anid Tane, who is painted as thoroughly a piece of shit, has those sharp edges still and is willing to sacrifice anything and everyone to get what he wants, as is evidenced by the fact he went out of his way to kill his old circle of operatives on his way out to take down the founders and reestablish himself as a Cardassian leadership powerhouse. And, ultimately we're going to see that Nabrin Tane is crazy. He is consumed and he is broken. There's a
Correct.
Maybe it's a bad thing that he survived into retirement.
Yeah,
That
he's past his prime.
Maybe it's better
mistakes.
for Cardassian leadership to die on the throne than have to, slide into irrelevancy because they can't handle it, as this guy couldn't. He's willing to do drastic things and endanger a lot of lives to recapture the glory days. But he's like, hey, I like the recap to kind of paint a better picture of what things used to be like.
Yeah.
To show
like Garak used to be a black hat. Like there's just no ambiguity whatsoever. This man tortured people for a living.
And it wasn't always killing. It was sometimes it was just, mind games or whatever. I like the story about the doctor who he broke with just 3 hours of staring, and they didn't kill the guy. This is Cardassian injustice. They sent him off to a penal colony or whatever. He worked off his thing 3 years later. Now he's back practicing medicine, which is interesting, again, that not everybody who is found guilty in Cardassian courts is executed.
It's very 1984-esque, right? Like, you don't kill necessarily everybody because you want the example of them turning back to the light. And in 1984, the lesson is you break your opposition, you have a public display of them coming into the light to try and teach the masses that there's no reason to resist, and then quietly you eliminate them and erase their presence later on at somewhere down the road. And that's exactly what they're talking about. Is this is somebody to get rid of because they've served their purpose in terms of the storyline. It's time for them to be eliminated.
As they're reconnecting and the promise of the future is being laid out in front of Garak, which I would say the jury's out to me whether or not he would have ultimately survived. Like, even if, and I guess that's the good writing of an Abram Tain, this guy's so fucking slippery, like, maybe Odo's right. Maybe if Garak would have gotten the information out of Odo and it was a successful operation, that Tain would have just murdered him in his sleep on the way back to the Alpha Quadrant. I'd say it would fit. He was willing to kill him before. But it's Garak who... I'm sorry, they're reconnecting. They're having their little chat, and then Tain starts talking about, what's her name, Marlena?
Mila.
And Garak wastes no time in like attempting to manipulate Tain. Like, why kill her? She's useful in this and that. And then Tain's like, seems like you, and maybe that's Tain like testing him on the front end. Like, have you gone soft? I know you care about this lady, and this is where we're going to start feeling things out here. Like, not knowing ultimately if Tain is actually loyal, meaningfully loyal to Garak, lets a lot of his decisions slide either way when you sit there and think about them, which is a lot of fun. And I'm kind of sad that by the end Tain doesn't survive, because they've created a very engaging and interesting character. So it's great world building between the two of them, and it's the fastest way to really expose Garak for what he is.
Yeah.
Giving him what he wants with an expectation of the story for him to move forward at 100% effort, and seeing him immediately start pulling on the brake. You can't ask him point blank, are you a good person or are you a bad person? Like, outsiders can't talk to him, but the establishment can attempt to utilize him, and you can see how he performs, and it becomes an action speak louder than words situation. And just right off the bat, you're like, this fucking guy can't do this anymore. Something's changed.
He's spent too much time around idealists, I think is the thing. Like, he's spent 3 years in the company and working with, frankly, people who have a very different view of the world, very different view of morality, very different view of principally through his friendship with Julian Bashir, which comes up as part of the dramatics of this episode. Like, one of the best quotes is actually straight from Julius Caesar, which is the point, right? The fault, dear Tain, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. And he points out, like, I learned that from Dr. Bashir.
Literally, Bashir gave him Shakespeare, and he was shitting on this Shakespeare.
Yeah, now he realizes the truth in it, right?
So not only has he been around these idealists where it's easy to feel good about what they're doing, but also he sees that they get results. And Garak is a results-oriented person. So when you say, like, hey, there is a better way to do this and not sacrifice the win, and also, by the way, we have won so bad that we shithouse you in every engagement. Like, look, stop acting like a psycho. I'm showing you a better way to do something. You have been clinging to the old way, the wrong way of doing it. Like, stop doing it the bad way. Start doing it the right way. And that's a very powerful motivation as well.
Like, this man can't do this anymore, right? And the last person to realize it is Garak. And he's still a man capable of a lot of terrible things. And this isn't going to be the last time he does terrible things. But he is broken by the experience of having done it. And the last scene in the episode is what really sells that. He goes back to his wrecked shop, and it's sort of like this wreckage of this thing he didn't even want, right? He liked blowing up a shop. Odo calls him on it. It's like a representation of his exile and everything that he wanted to be rid of. And in the aftermath of everything that happens to him in this episode and happens to Odo, he goes back in there and he's like, trying to start slowly fixing this, right? Because he's now knows I can't, there's nowhere for me to go back to. Not because I can't, but because I don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the whole point of when he's having the conversation with Odo through the mirror, right? That you see only Odo in the camera. Again, like David Livingston puts this on his fucking reel for a reason, right? What a shot. He's like, scrubbing the mirror off, and it's Odo standing in the broken frame, and they're having a conversation, and it's just Garak's facial expressions that you're really seeing throughout the entire time, because it's really, as much as Odo obviously was a focus of what happened, this is a story about Garak, and he is witness to Odo choosing not to do what he did as part of the story too. When he tortures him by using the device to prevent him from shape changing to the point where he's starting to decay.
Pause right there.
Yeah.
Whatever award they won for I'm an Old Man Herman's Head episode should have went through this.
Yeah.
Odo falling apart at the seams as he's forced to hold his physical form and goes past his expiration date and just starts rotting.
Yeah.
Throw that in any horror movie, man. Like, that was a rough look, and it was excellent. That was A+ Star Trek special effects right there.
And also, like, deeply affecting to Garak, who starts the interrogation in a very, like, you can see why he was really good at this mode, right? Sits down. He's very calm and secure and threatening. He's straight up, like, putting Odo in the worst possible position and doesn't seem to care. And then you just cut right to the consequences. And he's had enough. Like, Garak's had enough. He wants this to stop.
He's begging him.
He's like, lie to me. Lie to me. Tell me a lie right now, and this will come to an end. I don't want even... You don't even have to pretend it's true. You just have to tell me something that I can believe might be true. And in the aftermath of that, when he comes back down to get him, to spring him so they can escape, after the trap's been sprung and the changeling infiltrator is there, the changing infiltrator offers Odo the chance to do what Garak knows is the thing he wants the most, because he confessed to it. And what happened? Garak got offered everything he wanted and he took it. Odo got offered everything he wanted and he looked him in the face and said no. And you watch the expression on Garak's face while that scene is going on, and you see his face drop of like, I'm such a piece of shit. What this fuck is wrong with me? I couldn't say no to that, and you can? Oh, fuck.
Like, you, who I just tortured in the worst way you've ever felt, and you who have all the cards right now, because you could say, yes, I accept, kill this fucking meat bag, throw him to the wind. Like, sure, he came and got me, but like, it's great moral grandstanding right there, and it's the perfect thing to solidify and radicalize Garak as someone who has seen the light and now has very strong motivation to be a good guy. There's a lot that happens that I want to recap here real quick. First of all, Eddington's sabotage of the Defiance cloak to try and force Sisko's hand to go back, and Sisko's like, fuck that, we're just gonna
fix it right here.
Thanks for letting Eddington willing to step forward was interesting. And again, I don't know which way we're ultimately going to go on Eddington. Everything about him shouts bad guy vibes. We'll see. I really like Sisko's line about I've made it a point to never question the word of someone in that uniform, because Eddington swears that he won't be a problem further, that he basically completed his direct order. And I think everybody on the ship has to respect like the decision he made, right?
They do. Essentially, except for the chief, right? Like,
I think he still, he understands it too. Like, everybody's doing what they have to do. Everybody else has a personal motivation on that ship to go save Odo. Eddington had a motivation of a direct order by his boss for this organization he signed up. Like, I don't, it's not a war on the ship, but like, everybody has an understandable vantage point. And I like the continued value and stress that Sisko is putting on the physical uniform and the importance of it and the responsibility and the expectations that come with it. Because I know all this stuff with, what was his name, Calvin Hobbs? What was that linebacker?
Calvin Hobbs. Calvin and Hobbs.
Whatever. That comically bad actor they had playing the Maquis
Yeah.
commander defector. What was his name?
His first name was Calvin. I forget his last name, but it was not Hobbs.
There is a Commander Hobbs. That's the guy that opposes Data on the Sutherland. But like this, it almost feels insane on Sisko, which is very on brand, that he has these points that he is willing to just be like all or nothing. I'm like, if you are wearing the uniform, I will believe you. I don't want to be around when someone betrays that trust in the uniform. I don't think it's going to go too hot. But
no, I don't imagine it would.
So they fly out there. Coincidentally, that 2 hour, that 3 hour delay saves everybody's ass because they're not there for the bombardment. They're not there for the Jem'Hadar coming out and starting the attack. They blow up the planet's surface. And this is, what we talked about before, was very clearly they've telegraphed where their homeworld is, which screamed trap, as you pointed out.
And it is. And perhaps not surprisingly, the Tal Shiar agent in charge of the mission is actually a founder.
Huge surprise to me, actually. I did not expect that at all.
Oh, okay.
So, I had, like everybody else involved, just never considered, like, what if they already had infiltrated? And that is a great way to start introducing paranoia. Like, they should have thought about it, because we saw from the search that the changelings can perfectly impersonate humans, even though Odo cannot. And that this is a possibility. And now, what great way, by the end, everybody gets off scot-free because of General Order 2. But it's super important because now Garak knows everything that happened.
So does Odo.
Odo knows everything that happened. And Sisko knows everything that happened. The Romulan and Cardassian, the Romulan Star Empire is now fucked. They're down 20 Galaxy-class style warships. The Federation, which has more resources and more everything else, has, what do we say, 8 or 10 Galaxy-class?
Correct.
If that. 20 Galaxy-class size.
Even if it's just half the fleet, 10 of them. It was a total of 20 ships. It's the 10 of the best version of the Cardassian warship and 10 of the Derek's class warbirds.
Well, those are Cardassian warships that just don't exist anymore. It's not like they can produce more. Those were made in secret without central command, and the repercussions here now, I'll be very interested to see what happens between central command and the Obsidian Order. I mean, this should be a major civil war that they're dealing with now. Like, you have
dragged all day long over here.
You have dragged Cardassia directly into a conflict that it should have nothing to do with. This should have been the Federation, the Klingons, and the Romulans dealing with that, and so you've put a square in the fucking crosshairs on these guys. The Romulans, and they spell it all out too. When they're getting their asses kicked. I'm gonna go, like, Garak's like, all right, I see the writing on the wall. I don't want a part of this anymore. This shit is deeply fucked. We have lost. We have been played badly. It's a trap. I'm gonna go grab Odo, and we're just gonna fucking escape. Like, now is the time for me to leave. Knocks the Romulan guard out. Again, shout out to these Tal Shiar uniforms, looking badass.
Yeah, much better. Great move, Ron Moore. Get those changed.
What's his name? Commander Lovak, who's a solid character the whole way through. I like when he confronts Garak and he's like, "You're a great liar. I'm great at observing people. I saw you trying to argue for the changeling's life. You are weak, and I'm going to expose you for the fraud you are. You are not loyal to this mission." Which, of course, takes great subcontext later on, as we find out that Lovak was the changeling infiltrator. And I don't think it's Debbie Doppelpopoulos, right?
Nope.
This is just another one.
And he lays out exactly what we talked about last week, but also adds, like, the only threat left in the Alpha Quadrant are the Federation and the Klingons, and they won't be threats much longer, which is such a great, like, tease as to what the fuck does that mean, right?
And I love that, we didn't destroy the Romulans, but we know them. And we know that now that they have overplayed their hands and they just got fucking their hands slapped out of the cookie jar,
they're going to back off.
Maybe they got another 40 warbirds. Maybe they got another 100 warbirds or whatever. But they just took such a L, and they're already so prone to, like, galactic isolation that they're gone. And fuck, the Cardassians have been a joke the whole way through. The Cardassians were only there to lure the Romulans out to get fucking slapped in the mouth.
Which is exactly what happened. This was all Tane's plan.
Right. And realizing, like, even if the Cardassians militarily are kind of a joke, the Obsidian Order is still a ruthless organization, and we as a very fearful race that are suspicious and prone to persecution, like, we look at these Gestapo organizations as a credible threat.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Efficient, ruthless, exactly the sort of thing that would organize a practical defense. We, by eliminating the core of these organizations, we have alleviated ourselves of the possibility of them threatening us.
So the massive powerhouse warbirds continue to get shithoused. You don't really see anything like real set Jem'Hadar losses. It's conventional warfare. They get in the runabout, they leave. For whatever reason, the runabout's under fire, and I would think that the changeling would be like, hey guys,
leave that one alone.
Leave that alone, because that is a founder, and we do not want him to die, because Debbie Dopalopoulos has big plans for him, but we need the action adventure and the suspense. And once you know
the moment of Garak asking for forgiveness for torturing Odo, which doesn't happen unless you imperil their lives. You know, like, that's actually why I think you did it, is so that he would say, like, I am sorry I did that, and mean it. And you know, everyone knows he means it.
Because it's his dying words. Very fair. But once you know it, here comes the cavalry. And you might think it's the Defiant, but really it is cheat codes. Just embodied. This is the most ridiculous. It's Goku flying in after charging in a cat. Like, there is zero power scale here. Again, these fighters took down a Galaxy class. They are fucking up warbirds. The Galaxy was laying into these things with everything it had. And it one-shots not one, but two Jem'Hadar flies, and like just straight through, like bam, bam.
Those forward-facing plasma cannon, phaser cannons are some serious shit.
This is stupid on the level of Species 8472 taking out like 5 Borg cubes with one of their little cigar fighters.
I don't think it's quite that bad. The whole point is that the Defiant has experimental weapons and defensive measures. It has things that Galaxy class ship didn't have, and has a lot less to defend than that Galaxy class ship. It wasn't built to fight. It was built to explore and defend itself. And that's it.
I watched 7 seasons of the Enterprise beating the shit out of everybody.
But out of pure technological advantage, right? Who did it not beat the shit out of? The Derek's class warbirds, right? So its peer ships, like you just said, were more powerful than it because it wasn't built to fight. These Jem'Hadar ships, being able to focus on its weaknesses and be able to blow up a high-value target because it wasn't aligned to it. It wasn't a proper resource alignment. We talked about that too. Is like, why is the Defiant a good ship? It's because you can build a boat with weapons on it and put 50 people on it and get a lot of mileage out of that, right? It's a ship that's like the Jem'Hadar fighters. That's why it can fight against them properly.
I'm not saying it's ridiculous that the Jem'Hadar didn't blow up the Defiant. I'm saying it's ridiculous that the Defiant one-shots 2 Jem'Hadars in a row after a Galaxy class was laying in with everything it had on one of those things and couldn't put a dent in them. It's cinematic. It's cool. Whatever. I'm sure there'll be a lot. Also, too, keep in mind, the Defiant was captured and held over that planet while they were caught in their VR interrogation. Like, this isn't top secret technology anymore. The Jem'Hadar should know about this shit. But they rescue him. I forget. Do they beam him off before the runabout?
Before the runabout is destroyed. Yeah.
Which one was that? Whatever. Who cares? We're not. This isn't Voyager. We're not
tracking. Mekong. Don't worry. They replace it with a new one named the Rubicon. Get it? Because it's the die is cast. Julius Caesar.
There you go.
The Rubicon. Yeah. Anyway, it's just for me, I guess. So yeah, the episode wraps on the scene we already talked about, where Garak.
Oh, by the way, Odo had, before they leave, Garak is like, I got to go back and get my dude. Like,
right.
Just trust me. Please hang out. Yeah,
I got to do this. I have to try and repay. Like, it goes beyond rationality.
This is an important scene. Him trying to reason with Nabrantane and seeing Nabrantane is broken. Although now you've given me reason to believe he's a fucking replicant or some malfunctioning android or something. But that this guy is deeply flawed. His madness has been brought. This is such an L. He's now fully disassociated and just lost in madness. And you've got Garak desperately pleading with him. Come on, we got to go. And Odo's like, fuck that. We don't got time for this. Knocks him out, slings him over the shoulder, absconds with him, and, Nabrantane seemingly dying. They beam over the Defiant. Bashir is there, ready to immediately start smearing shit in open wounds. Oh, it looks like that fucking punch across your face hurts. They fly home. And then, you get the scene in that. And the interesting part out of all of this is the character growth for not only Garak, but also Odo. As Odo's like, we should have a misfit island of broken toys breakfast club. And Garak's like, but you don't eat. And he's like, I don't. But very clear what I'm saying is we now share a very close bond, and I am eager to explore. Because keep in mind, too, this is twice that Odo has been confronted by a third party in that you don't understand emotions. You don't have anybody who really matters. And he has never fought back and been like, fuck you. He's been like, I want to insult me. Not insult me, but like, go on. Quark did it when Quark was pleading for his rebellion girlfriend. Garak just did it here. So this is Odo being like, I'm opening up now. I'm willing to grow. And this is Garak being like, I'm going to start letting my guard down. This guy has saved my life, point blank. I owe him my life. Unrightfully so. This guy should have left me to die. I tortured him. Big changes. Big changes for the characters. Big changes for the galactic geopolitical arena. General Order number 2 comes through loud and clear as Admiral Todman's like, you do this again, Sisko, and either you're going to get kicked out or you're going to get promoted. Either way, it's going to fucking suck ass for you. I promise. Jadzia Dax is like, I'm in the background. I don't matter. I don't even think I talked this episode. The part of the conversation I needed in that message between Todman and Sisko is like, Sisko be like, thanks. But for real, though, those 9 ships, how about they just hang out? Also, I hope you've packed the cargo bay full of some fucking guns. Because did you see the telemetry of what happened over there and how many
120 Jem'Hadar ships? That would be real bad right now. We don't need that.
Played. These guys are not willing to let things go. They are proactively dismantling the power structure of the Alpha Quadrant. In case you didn't know, this invasion is happening for real, for real, for real. I need more than silly string and a couple cans of hairspray with some lighters. Give me real guns, please.
We finally put down the meta plot for a hot second. For our next episode, we aren't necessarily hitting this part of the meta plot, but we are going to return to a different one. What episode are we going to review, Peter?
Explorers. First aired May 8th, 1995. This is teleplay by Renee Echevra. Story by Hilary J. Bader. Directed by Cliff Bowl. We got a picture of, looks like a solar sail goldfish. I hope this is the Chutes and Ladders aliens coming back for round 2. Sisko builds a replica of an 800-year-old Bajoran spaceship and tries to use it to prove that Bajoran explorers could have made it to Cardassia without developing warp drive. Okay, so we're taking a step back from war is coming.
We're taking a step instead towards the whole
I'm Jesus. His love of making watches and starships.
Well, yeah, he does like making starships, so this is right up his alley, right? Mm-hmm. Can't all be Defiants. Sometimes they have to be solar sail pleasure cruisers. All right. Thank you so much for listening to this extended episode of Feature Please. We appreciate your indulgence as we indulge ourselves. Hopefully your holidays are equally indulgent and that you will continue to listen, maybe even gift shares and likes and comments and subscriptions to us here on any platform you wish or at Patreon. We would appreciate that. see you next
I
week.
got some leftover pie I gotta go stuff my face with. Excuse me.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, well, it's fucking great.